All right, algoritmos, you guys are going to have patience with us tonight. I'm filming here in Los Angeles, and as you have been watching on the news, there is a firestorm out here, and it is getting very close to my apartment. So we might have to end the show early and have to evacuate the building. But until then, guess what? Welcome to another session of Celebrity Court, where fame and justice collides and no scandal escapes our judgment. I'm Al, your judge and host, and tonight's docket is packed with cases that will leave you gasping, debating, and questioning loyalty to some of your favorite stars. From Nicki Minaj dodging an arrest warrant in a bizarre battery case involving, I don't know what she threw, but to Sonny Hostin's surgeon husband facing federal insurance fraud allegations. We got all of the courtroom drama you need, and it doesn't stop there. Trey Songz, once again, is fighting an $11 million judgment. T.I. and Tiny might have to give some money back, and J.Lo and Ben Affleck finalized their whirlwind romance, who guessed it, with a divorce. So grab your gavels and your tea, because we're going to start spilling the tea shortly, and we're going to start serving justice after we announce our legal beagles. First up, joining me is our fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner. Shatan Turner, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hi, Your Honor. Glad to be back, and you just put a whole new spin on the show must go on. You stay safe out there.
Exactly, right? Well, where else is there for me to go? The roads are blocked off. Everyone's trying to get out, but now the ones that can't get out and they're too close to the fire, they're abandoning their cars. The rescue squads can't get where they're going, so they're bulldozing the cars out the street. It's just a horrible situation here right now. All right, joining this fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner, is humorous at law, Sean Carter. Sean Carter, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Glad to be here, Your Honor. By the way, if you need to get out of here, remember, I got a gavel too. All right, so you can just go ahead and get out. I'll put on a wig and I'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Not a wig. All right, and last but not least, the art of shit they didn't teach you in law school. Joining us, the civil attorney, Jason Weiss. Jason Weiss, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. And I think your emoji tonight needs to be water, because we all need to pray that you guys get rain and lots of water out there. You always have a place to stay in South Florida here in my home.
Yeah, if I could get to the airport, right, I do appreciate that. Thank you so much, Jason. And that's right. My emoji tonight, everybody, is going to be water. Jason's emoji, as you know, is a shield. Shatan's emoji is fire. Sean's emoji is the clown face, and mine is going to be the water and the fax machine. Court is now in session, and boy, do we have a lineup for you. First on the docket, Nicki Minaj scores a small legal victory as a judge denies an arrest warrant on a battery case. Her former security guard, it's her former assistant, accused her of assault during an altercation, causing him physical and emotional distress. Minaj's legal team calls the case frivolous, and for now, the rapper walks away unscathed. All right, who do we say we're throwing? We're going to go to Attorney Turner with this. Attorney Turner, how significant, right? How significant is this small victory for Nicki Minaj's defense team? And even though they can't seem to not yet get any criminal charges, does this strengthen her position if they decide to file a potential civil lawsuit?
So, this is a case of girl power, and Nicki did the right thing. Seriously, here was the issue. We talked about this the other night. This is a claim by her former manager that he was brought into her dressing room and he was interrogated about some decisions that he had made, and she didn't like his answers and she popped him, right? He said,
you mean she slapped him?
She slapped him. Yeah, she popped him. I forgot.
No, a pop and a slap are two different things, counselor.
Okay, well, not in Rochester, New York, where I grew up. But she slapped him. And so he indicated he was so traumatized and injured that he had to go into the bathroom and wait for an hour. And that's what's resulted in the current case. And so when we discussed it the other night, we were discussing the potential civil aspects of it. And this victory has to do with the criminal charges that could have ensued as a result of what happened. And the judge decided that there was insufficient evidence for them to proceed with criminal charges. And as we talked about in chambers, it's a bit curious. And as you see me sipping my tea, the real thing is that apparently nobody in Nicki's camp is spilling the tea. So no one is giving them enough information to support the criminal charges that could ensue, right? She slapped him, which means that he had the
handprint.
He was afraid of getting hit, which is the assault part. He got hit, which is the battery part. And you would think that would be an easy case since there was a room full of witnesses to have criminal charges about, but apparently ain't nobody talking. Do you remember the old Gershwin play, Porgy and Bess?
Yes.
And the whole thing, there was a crime and Catfish Row, nobody was telling anything because you don't talk to the cops. I think that must be the rule on Nicki Minaj's thing, except for this manager who's suing her. Everybody else got the memo that you don't snitch.
Got it. Okay, Attorney Carter, help me understand what constitutes frivolous in the legal sense, and how do courts determine whether claims like these have merit?
Right. And see, they didn't say necessarily it was frivolous. They didn't even say we don't believe you. What they're saying is we don't have enough corroborating evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this could happen. Now, in the civil case, it won't be beyond a reasonable doubt. It'll be a preponderance of the evidence, 50-50. So so this doesn't preclude his civil case from going forward, even him winning, but it definitely isn't a good sign. It definitely would be a better sign if she got charged and convicted of assault. Then it's pretty easy to him to prove that he was assaulted, right? But in this case, it's going to be harder. And I think Attorney Turner mentioned it best is Nicki in Nicki camp and her team. They believe that stitches get stitches from Nicki. And so everybody must be afraid of those hands because nobody appears to be saying anything. And by the way, this happened 9 months ago. So they had 9 months to get somebody to say they saw this. And apparently either the person, nobody said something, or the person who corroborated his story wasn't reliable, but they don't think they can get it.
I feel like, it's like a catch-22 because if anybody corroborates, she's going to fire them. The same way she fired this guy. So if they want their job, probably making pretty good money. She's got to be paying decent. She's on the road all the time. She's always performing somewhere. I mean, I guess they're afraid.
Yeah, so, just get stitches. That's all you gotta say.
Would this denied warrant though? If it's denied, then there really is no reason for any of the other employees to come forward.
Well, I think that Attorney Carter brings up the highlight for the question you asked me that I didn't really answer directly, which is what does it mean for the civil suit? And because there are different standards of evidence, right? One's preponderance of the doubt, that's the civil, which is a much lower standard than the reasonable doubt standard for criminal. And the analysis is going to be a function of, is it reasonably likely that it happened, right? So he's going to be able to assert some things that may have been precluded in the criminal case and also not have to overcome the same burden hurdle in the criminal case. And so I imagine, unless Nicki is going to play super hardball, which she might, because my understanding is she is not the type to mess with things or with people. She doesn't suffer fools, and she absolutely isn't fools who's trying to take her money. And so she may just say, no, I'm not paying anything and refuse to settle. I would recommend that she at least consider a nuisance value settlement, but I don't know what's nuisance value for this former manager.
All right, so Sonny Clark says she slapped him, but he deserved it. Medication is private. HIPAA. What y'all think? Well, Sonny, if it was that private, she should be sending her assistant to go get it. Okay, all right. Danielle Cameron says, Your Honor, all my teeth still hurt, and every time I hear Nicki on the radio, I go back to the night I was slapped and traumatized. Oh no, that's horrible. And then TR says HIPAA doesn't account for outside services. It's for patients with healthcare providers. So this is my question for the viewers, for the algorithms. I got a question. So put it down in the chat. Everybody jump down in the chat. Do you think that this was a frivolous lawsuit designed to shake down Nicki Minaj because of her fiery reputation? Or do you think this is just Nicki being Nicki? So do you think this is a frivolous lawsuit or not? All I can say is, in the court of public opinion, you can't put your hands on people. You can't just decide because someone did something bad, especially as a celebrity. You can't just decide, okay, I didn't like that you couldn't get the prescription, so you sent someone else, and so I'm gonna slap the hell out of you. Like, I just don't think it's wise for her to be putting her hands on people. I don't think that's a good idea.
It's not wise, but I mean, where I grew up, it was a common expression. If you do whatever, I'm gonna slap the bleep out of you. Like, that's what people said. I think it's a lack of maturity on Nicki's part, but I don't know that it's and it's stupid because of her assets. But like we talked about the other day, people are who they are, right?
Right.
Apparently, she's got a temper. And this is where we were discussing the other day. She may have been trying to send a message to everybody who was in that room. You do what I say when I tell you to. And so and apparently they got the message because they ain't talking. She said,
right.
Gave them the look afterwards, and ain't nobody saying nothing because they're like,
but that's just so, yeah. So what would have to be the burden of proof on the civil side, Attorney Carter? Because obviously he's not getting anywhere on the criminal side. So what is he going to have to prove in order to get some type of leverage on the civil side?
I'm not sure he has to prove much, and here's why. It's one thing with he said, she said. And you have to, if a jury has to decide beyond a reasonable doubt, do I believe him, or is there any doubt she could be telling the truth? I could see a jury saying there's some doubt. But in civil side, all they have to do is say it's more likely that he's telling the truth than that she's telling the truth. And when I look at it just from the outside, I say, yeah, it's probably more likely that he was telling the truth.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
Just because of her past experience. So his civil case is going to be a lot easier to win in this case. I'm not sure the damages, we talked about that last time, how much the damage is from a 120-pound woman slapping you, whatever it is. But, certainly I think his burden of proof is lower. But here's the problem is. The other problem, though, is that it's a public relations thing. And what Nicki has done, she got the first victory. And most people are not going to look at it that far. They're just going to simply say, okay.
Yeah, they're just going to simply say, right, she's off.
Right. And so she's going to have a much better time, at least in the court of public opinion. I'm not sure if I was him, if I would have tried to even bring the civil matter or the criminal matter. Why bother? Why bother that higher burden of proof and, the possible repercussions of her being, not arrested, and her being arrested doesn't put any money in my pocket, right? I need her actually out there working for me. All right. Nicki better have my money. Right. And so I would have put her out to work for me. Not to be a pimp or nothing, but I would have put her out there on the streets.
And nobody's gonna hire him bringing criminal charges. Civil cases, nobody's going to care, right? Oh, you're suing me, fine. You want a money grab, whatever. But the second he brought those criminal charges, that's it. Touch him.
Yeah.
All right. Sonny Clark says, am I the only one dying to know what was the medication?
No, you're not the only one.
No, you're not the only one. We all are dying, but of course that's private information, so no, it will not come out in court, unfortunately. Benjamin 12 says Nicki was being Nicki, but she's wrong. Queen Riley says, pick up your own meds or have them delivered to you. What meds was it for her to be so mad? Probably something relating to her anger management. Abby NYC, the MM family, it's an embarrassing moment in front of others. I say that it's definitely an embarrassing moment. Miss P said Nicki needs to sit down somewhere and worry about deflating butt of hers. Oh, Lord. All right, everybody. Before we go to segment 2, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, please hit the share button and invite some friends over to watch the show. Learn about the law while we gossip about what they're doing wrong and leaving them in this legal boiling water. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. As always, we appreciate you jumping down in the comments, and we're going to make sure that we get all the comments read if you have any questions and that part of the show. Next up, the View star, Sunny Hostin, I guess that's how you say Hostin, is finding her sunny days clouded by allegations against her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin. Federal prosecutors are accusing him of being a part of an insurance fraud scheme involving inflated or unnecessary medical procedures. The accusations could bring serious legal and financial consequences, not just for him, but for their entire family. Now, this is interesting. I'm throwing this to you, Attorney Carter, right?
Yep.
All right, Attorney Carter, how challenging is it to prove intent in insurance fraud cases, particularly when dealing with medical procedures? And why do you feel like all of a sudden, one of the View's most, liked co-host husband is being targeted for this?
Well, that's interesting because that was my question as well. So let's be clear. The lawsuit is being brought against 200 individuals, about 180 different doctors in New York, insurance companies, vendors and all kinds of people. And what they're saying is, you guys have been ripping us off with these automobile claims. New York has a law that says if someone submits an injury from an automobile accident, the insurance company has to pay out within 30 days without regard to who's at fault. So, yeah, exactly. And so what the insurance company says here is that these guys, 180 doctors and all these people got together and they created this scam where they would just inflate the prices, inflate the costs. So-and-so got a procedure, so-and-so got this medicine, so-and-so needed this treatment. They didn't ever need, they didn't ever get, and they would, submit the bill. The insurance company only had 30 days, so they couldn't investigate it in time, and they just had to pay out the money. And they're saying, hey, you ripped us off to a tune of $150 million. They filed this under the RICO Act, which is the stuff you get like mobsters on.
Yeah,
right?
That's like bad.
Yeah, that's real bad. Like, they also got Diddy on some RICO stuff, right? And they're saying that you owe us not just 150, but 450 million, all right, for all the stuff you stole from us. Now, they're not targeting him specifically. They didn't, they name him in the lawsuit as one of the doctors, but he's just one of
many
people. And how they, so I kind of looked into this. I was like, wait a minute, aren't there thousands of doctors in New York? Obviously. And the way they came to him was by saying that his particular billings were larger than they should have been. Right now, maybe he just works hard. Maybe he just out there.
He's got to pay for that rent because his office is in Manhattan proper.
Right.
Everybody, every lawyer every doctor that you go to at Manhattan proper it's triple the price.
There you go. Now here's the thing is, it's gonna be interesting because they're saying, you couldn't have done all those damn surgeries when you were on the red carpet with Sonny. And so it's gonna be interesting to see if he got receipts and he could be like, look, I was here, right? I was there, or they have receipts and they can say, hey, no, you said you were doing this surgery, but we got you here, right? And so he's probably one of the few people that they're really gonna be able to know where he was because he's so high profile.
This is my question also. If he's convicted of these fraudulent activities, does he lose his license?
I don't think one thing has to do with, I don't think the conviction for it has anything to do with the license. They're going to run that separately. He can get cleared, let's say, of some criminal charges, but they could still bring him up by the medical board and vice versa. Same thing. It's kind of like civil and criminal in our judicial system. So they could strip him of his medical license regardless if they decide that this was done improperly. But there's lots of things, and not the funny thing, but the interesting thing is, right, 180 doctors. We don't know the name of 179.
Right. We know the name. We know his name. Yeah. What were you saying, Attorney Turner?
I was just going to give some color to the licensure issues. So the way that the licensure board investigations go, as Attorney Weiss indicated, it's a parallel related inquiry, but it's not the same. And so what happened when the charges against him were filed, there was a notification to the medical board. And so what I suspect, if the New York Medical Board has not already initiated an investigation into that they will conduct their own investigation. And as Attorney Weiss indicated, they're kind of de novo proceedings because the standards are different. The standard for medical board investigations is, did you comply with the ethical responsibilities of the profession? And that's different than whether or not you broke a criminal law. Related facts, but different standard.
And the other thing is this: the doctors have discretion on what they're treating, just like us as lawyers, right? You could go to 7 doctors and ask, what would you have done? And you're going to get 7 different answers. Exactly. Okay. It's called the practice of medicine for a reason, just like it's the practice of law.
Okay, so are we concerned at all that this could affect Sonny's reputation?
I'm very concerned about Sunny. As I mentioned in Chambers, she's a friend. And so I send like my thoughts and prayers to her family because this kind of stress is definitely worrisome and can impact performance. But I mean, Sunny's a pro. She's been doing it a long time. If you want to know about her and her husband's love story, you can read her book, These Are My Truths. She's going to be fine. I worry about a lot of people when bad things happen to them. Sunny is somebody that I'd bet money on each and every time. Now, the question will become whether this case somehow becomes so distracting that ABC and The View would want to distance themselves. But
Right.
I don't think it's that kind of case. You know, this isn't Diddy, right? This is a standard inquiry, albeit a sensational one, based on how he did his job. No one's saying that he killed anyone. They're saying that potentially he charged too much money, or there's an anti-kickback aspect to this, that somehow he got a position as a result of him being complicit in some alleged scheme. Sonny's already issued a statement and indicated that, at least from the framing of this, that this is a big brother case, trying to push out the little guy, which would be her husband as a private practitioner. So, you know.
Oh, that sounds weird. Okay, so Sonny Clark says his wife makes good money. Why create fraudulent medical stuff? If it's greed, send him to jail. Queen Riley said fraud is bad. CMS doesn't play. All right. Jeanette Hunter said Trump will go after Sonny. You know he will. Abby NYC, the MM family said Sonny has been crashing out and coming unglued at times. Benjamin 12 says licensed to practice. Jeanette Hunter said Sonny's husband is not at every event. What else? Benjamin 12 says, I think Sonny's husband is a workaholic and not guilty. That's very interesting how we are, in public opinion, not, putting the hammer down on him for fraudulent activity.
Well, we should be clear about one thing. I said it's RICO, but it's civil RICO. So this wasn't brought by the government. This was brought by the insurance company. The people will push back and say, hey, the insurance company is just trying to be cheap, right? This is the kind of thing where insurance companies trying to deny claims. They've been trying to get the law changed in New York.
Yeah, it's so interesting. These insurance companies are really doing a little bit too much because they want back those huge profit margins that they used to have. Absolutely. And it's so interesting because even out here in Los Angeles, that they canceled fire insurance. Like you could not get fire insurance in Los Angeles, in the state of California. Then you have this brush fire. Now all of these people whose houses are burnt down don't have fire insurance. I don't even see how is that legal, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right, let's keep it moving, guys. Trey Songz. Oh gosh. Trey Songz lawyer, please. Trey Songz lawyer, please for judge to toss out $11 million judgment in connection with assault of a police officer. Trey Songz says the enforcement of this judgment will be devastating to him and will ruin his life. All right, which attorney do we want to talk to about this? Because Trey Songz stays in some type of legal trouble. Is this you, attorney Shaitan?
Weiss.
Attorney Weiss. That's right. Attorney Weiss has got the 411 on Trey Songz in this. Like, so what exactly, what could he actually say to this judge to have this judge reduce this judgment?
I don't even think what he's going to say is to reduce the judgment. I think what he's going to do is he's going to have an argument in front of the judge in 8 days on January 16th. And he's going to say, Your Honor, I was never served. You didn't get proper jurisdiction and personal jurisdiction over me because I was not served. Supposedly, based on the court records and based on what I saw, the process server left documents at his gated community, and that is not proper service under Nevada law where the case is, or California where he is at. Now, one of the things that, and I deal with this all the time, I've had clients that they've been served like via certified mail, and I have to look up to show like in Massachusetts, you can certify mail and get service over somebody. So in California and in Nevada, both states, you cannot leave something at a gate, a gated community, or something like that. So I don't think the court's going to care about the $11 million. It's going to devastate him. Court's not going to care. Court's going to look very narrowly. Was he properly served? If the court says, yes, he was properly served, he's going to have to come up with some sort of excusable neglect or some other reason why the court should set aside the default judgment and allow him to defend himself.
Got it.
Courts of law want you to defend yourself, and they're going to give you that opportunity. But if he blew it off and didn't pay attention to it and he was properly served, court's not going to undo it. Now, I would appeal.
If you were him, you would appeal. So let me ask you this question, because it was an assault on a former officer, who is actually in charge? Who is that former officer's lawyer? And let me tell you why I asked this question. Because I can imagine that police officers and the people who represents police officers know the correct way to make sure a client or someone gets served, right?
Well, he wasn't. I don't believe he was working in his capacity as an officer. He just happened to be there.
But wouldn't he be represented by his union?
No, he's a Maryland police officer that happened to be in Las Vegas.
Oh, so he's a Maryland police officer that happened to be in Las Vegas.
No,
okay,
he wasn't hurt on the job. He wasn't hurt. Now, if he was freelancing or moonlighting or doing whatever, don't know. But the police benevolent wouldn't defend him anyway or bring the case anyway for that.
Got it.
And usually, not always, and I'm sure the two other attorneys on here will correct me when I am wrong, but usually they'll only defend you as your union rep or as your part of being a police officer. If it's not bring a case on your behalf against somebody else.
Okay, got it. So, well, it would still behoove me to think that an officer who hired a lawyer doesn't know the correct way to serve a high-profile client.
But it's the lawyer who didn't do it right, not the police officer.
Right.
The counsel.
So let's be clear, lawyers don't usually do the service themselves, right? So you hire some 18-year-old kid, all right, out of high school to go serve the papers, and those people don't always. You think about it, it's like having an Uber, right? Sometimes, or sorry, DoorDash. Sometimes it's nicely on your porch, and sometimes it's in your backyard, right? And
someone else's house.
Or somebody else's house, yeah.
You're missing your French fries.
I just find it very sloppy work when you're trying to serve a celebrity and you're going to leave it. Everybody knows that you can't leave a service just laying on the yard. Like that's 1 + 1 will always equal 2 to me. Something in this is not making a whole lot of sense to me.
I think the young man or woman got confused. The service, the person who delivers the paperwork in California, you can leave it with an adult in the home if, for instance, if someone wanted to sue me, and you might, you could leave with my wife with a note that says it's very important. You must sure your husband gets it, and then you must also send it to the house directly. But there has to be an adult who can communicate that this is
you've been served.
Right, you've been served, not the front guy, the security guard at the front gate, who may or may not see you ever in life and has no idea what the hell.
That's what it's giving me. It's giving me that you didn't gain access, you weren't getting any leverage, and you left it with someone who was guarding that gate, and they put that shit on the floor.
Right.
Look, here in Florida, you don't even have to go as far as Attorney Carter just said. Someone could ring the bell, serve my wife or my 18-year-old son, not my 15-year-old daughter because she's not old enough yet, and just hand the papers and say, this is for Jason Weiss. You've been served. That's it. Done.
What's the rule? Because we've covered this on the show before. What's the rule in some states that all you have to do is publish it in a newspaper?
So that's usually when you've attempted service and you can't get service on somebody. It's called alternative service, and you could do it that way. It's service by publication. But you still need to go ahead, and it's only in certain scenarios and certain ways and certain things, but you still have to try to attempt to get service. If they're avoiding service, if they're not there, if you can't get a known address, and you have to put an affidavit with the court, and the court will then say you can publish via public, you could serve by a publication, or no, you need to do a little bit more, and then you could serve.
Okay, Trey, Death God says, how Trey not in jail? All right, that's a good question. Queen Raleigh says, I feel Trey is someone Attorney Ross would represent. Hey, you know that's right.
And win.
Queen Raleigh, you being messy. Daniel Cameron said, Trey did it. I'm done. I can't even remember what he sings at this point. That is so true. Abby NYC, the MM family, says he's his own worst nightmare. Shatan Turner says, remember him in baggage claim. JP Mills says, Trey is ridiculous. Why every time I hear his name is always trouble related? I agree. What's going on with him? Sonny Clark said, how are you going to serve a celebrity without trickery? They always have security. Jay says, Trey Songz needs to sit down and focus on all those sexual assault cases he have. I agree with you on that. And Sonny Clark is laughing emojis. All right, everybody, please be sure to hit that like button because the likes just aren't liking. Also, hit that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, hit that share button and invite someone over to watch the show with you or us. Also, turn on your notifications and don't forget to continue to jump down in the chat because we love that. Next up, T.I. and Tiny.
Before we go on, I just want to make one thing and maybe a personal plea. Give me a second here. Trey, if you're out there, you can whip my ass for about $8 million. Since you and your people like to whip ass, I could use it. And by the way, you can't stop my wife. All right, but I'm gonna give you a little bargain.
Are you really doing this shameless plea for cash? You want to get beat up? Are we really doing this?
You have to admit though, $11 million is a lot of money for a butt whooping, right? You know, I mean, you can whoop my butt for a little less than that. And so what?
$2 million, Sean. Yeah.
No, and then by the way, the serious point about that is that we have to understand that if the $11 million verdict is set aside, the default judgment, he's still going to have some money to pay. They're still going to go to trial, et cetera. The $11 million is kind of wild. That's a lot of money.
I feel like that $11 million, the judge says, you better start paying attention, buddy, because you stay in trouble. And I'm going to get your attention, even though you're running from this serving. Exactly. This is how I'm going to get you to pay attention to this. That's what I feel like, because the $11 million now has him squealing like a pig, talking about it will ruin his life. And that's not by happenstance. Trey ignored this serving. Someone took it to the press, created a great story, took it to the judge, got an incredible judgment, took it to the press, and now they're just smearing him. Which is smart because he's running from the judgment. I mean, he's running from the service. He's not paying attention to it.
You also have him on his feet, you know, back up against the wall. It's not like you're on even footing. He first needs to dig himself out of the hole, and then he needs to first defend himself. So it's not just going to be case dismissed. It's going to be the best case scenario for Trey would be judgment set aside. You have 10 days to answer.
Right. I agree. All right, everybody, let's keep it moving. T.I. and Tiny, may not be breathing a sigh of relief any longer as a federal judge has considered slashing their $71 million lawsuit payout. Can you believe this? I cannot believe. Let's get to this one right away. So let me understand. Who's explaining this to us? Is this Turner? Are you explaining this to us tonight? No. Or Jason?
Weiss again.
Okay, this is Weiss again. Okay, so Jason, help me understand. They get awarded $71 million.
Yep.
Right? For something dealing with the dolls that they've created, et cetera, et cetera.
Infringing intellectual property.
All right, so that's a good case. That means you should get that check in the mail in 30 days.
30 days probably not, but
a wire transfer of some sort in 30 days. This win was so big that T.I. issued a statement saying that he's retiring from rapping after winning 70. And I would too. It's like winning the lottery. Why do I have to go on stage and all that smoke and drink all that alcohol and all that craziness when I just won $71 million? Now tell me, how does a judge that awarded 71 now wants a look back and wants to reduce it.
So what happened was that a lot of this was considered punitive damages, that you were penalizing this company. I think it was called the other company was called MGA's Surprise OMG Dolls, and it infringed upon OMG Girls with a Z. So that the models, look, it was done probably intentionally so that people would go and they would buy the knockoffs and they would use the name and all of this. And the dolls had huge financial success. So T.I. and Tiny and their group, they got a huge victory. It shows the importance of intellectual property rights and all of this kind of stuff. But as after the award was granted, it was reduced. The federal judge decreased the payout to approximately $17.8 million, cutting it by over $50 million in punitive damages. And the court did not find sufficient evidence to prove that they infringed upon this intentionally. And I guess that's what the problem is. You need to show intent.
Okay, I got it. But didn't a judge who awarded the $71 million find that there was intent, and that's why they gave him so much money?
No, that's probably the jury that came back and found that. So the jury said, punish them and give the celebrities all the money and give them all this. And the court probably went in and did a finding, and the court can't overrule. Well, the court can do whatever it wants, especially a federal judge. But at the same time, the court didn't find that the intent was there. They probably didn't show intent. And that is where it is. So look, it's still a $18 million judgment. And they're going to probably get paid that as opposed to a $71 million judgment, which they probably would have never gotten it because they would have filed bankruptcy and they would have closed their doors. 17.8. They're gonna get probably a good.
They would be probably covered by some type of insurance. I'm with you, Kendra Jones. Kendra Jones says federal judge is hating. I agree. JP Mills said, did the company appeal or did the judge just decide? Abby NYC, the MM family says, stop telling folks about your money wins. Danielle Cameron says, now why would a federal judge want to slash T.I. and Tiny's judgment? The toy company got the money. Is it because they have melanin? That's a good question. But my question is, what's the legal criteria for a judge to reduce such a significant payout? What legal precedents do they lean on?
Intent
to reduce it. Intent.
That's what it's all about. What was the intent of the infringers? And if you could say that they intentionally made replications of these dolls, used the name, did all that, and you can prove it, you're going to get, again, these are punitive damages, not compensatory saying that this is the money that you lost. No, punitive damages are you were wrong, you were bad, and we're punishing you. And you need to show intent in order to have that.
Now, I got to be honest. I'm not a penny. I'm not counting people's money, but I would feel some kind of way if you take my award from 70 million down to 17. Am I the only one that's feeling that way? Because I'm like, now I feel like something ain't right.
I'm longing for that problem. I want the biggest
me too, right?
Like to be that they'd reduce my award from 70 million to 17 million. I mean, judges have the ability to do what they call a remitter, which is to reduce the amount of the award. That's in their discretion. So it's not something that, is discussed a lot in the court of public opinion, because usually it's only the headline that people see and then they don't talk about the remitter afterwards. But that's what happens with a lot of the extreme verdicts that you see in the headlines. They're never awarded to the individual. So this is not like shocking the conscience or beyond the pale from a legal perspective. I think that the thing that's getting everybody caught up is we like T.I. We believe that the jury system should work. And the fact that this one judge a mere mortal is saying, T.I., you can't have whatever you like. You get what I tell you, right?
That's just
whatever he like.
That just seems so wrong to me. That's just like me bringing in my lottery ticket and saying I won $70 million. And then, the guy at the store says, well, sorry, I don't want to pay you $70 million. I want to pay you 17. And you have to take it.
Well, here's the thing, right? The judge found that the 17 million plus was compensatory. That's what they lost. And the additional amount was the penalty for intentionally infringing. And the court said, I don't think they intentionally infringed. It must have been a misapplication of the law. And that's what it's all about. So the losses of 18 million, you could prove that. You could show it. We lost sales.
Right.
Punishing them, they must not have shown the intent. And again, I didn't read the transcript from the hearing.
You and this intent's making me mad, so I'm gonna stop listening to you.
Yeah, no, here's the weird part about it, though. Is that the case
order the court. I don't want to hear Jason Weiss talk anymore. No more.
The weird part to me is that the whole case turned on whether the OMG dolls was a knockoff of the OMG girls. And what the court said in its final ruling was, OMG is a term used by everybody. But when I look at these pictures, these outfits aren't used by everybody, right? The hairstyles aren't used by everybody. I think he stole it. Now, here's why I think the judge reduced it, for the same reason I would have. Because he's sick of T.I.'s stand-up act. Now, you can't just and Danielle Cameron did make a great point about the melanin, but here's the thing is, T.I. and Tiny together only have about this much melanin. All right, about this much. So I'm not sure with that. All right.
You know what, Attorney Carter. Y'all held in contempt too. You and Jason Weiss, y'all need to take a break. All right, everybody, as we roll into the last topic of the night. And finally, Hollywood's golden couple, J.Lo and Ben Affleck, have officially called it quits again. Their divorce is finalized, and while sources claim the split was amicable, fans can't stop speculating about what really went wrong. We do know that, Ben Affleck has been spotted to running from the hills where the fire is around his home back into the arms of his ex-wife, Jennifer, and not Jennifer Lopez. Was it tension over their whirlwind romance, or did the pressure of the fame take its toll? All right, Attorney Chatan Turner, since you're our resident divorce court lawyer, how do prenuptial agreements simplify the divorce process, especially in high-profile couples? And what are some of the legal challenges that you think arise that made it take so long for these two to separate?
Well, two things. They were only married a couple years, so I don't know that it took a long time for them to separate. I mean, people have short attention spans. Once they find out a couple's broken up, they want the divorce to happen lickety split because we like instant gratification and Google has spoiled us all. And you got to remember, when people are married, right, it is the combination of a life or two lives but to become one. And then the divorce is a process of unwinding it. I mean, we were talking about how Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's divorce just got final, and it's been going on for like nearly 9 years. So it could take a long time. The fact that this was resolved this quickly for JLo and Ben when they just separated last year, I think is a testimony to the fact that they wanted it to happen. I don't know, and I'll get to your question about the prenup. I don't know about the comments about amicable. They were in love 20 years ago. They got married in a whirlwind romance recently, and then they broke up that quickly. I think amicable is probably what people are saying for PR purposes, but if I don't get money, somebody's pissed off. I'm just saying, right? And I don't know the whys. But to answer your question, prenuptial agreements are contracts that are designed to make splitting up easier because they're designed to memorialize the interests of the two people who are getting married in advance when they are able to have different sorts of negotiations. When people are falling in love and before they get married, that's the time to discuss about everything hard and complicated, because orgasms definitely blur lines and get them to agree to a whole host of things.
Counselor, did you say orgasms?
I did. They get them to agree to a whole host of things when
this show is going to hell.
when you're getting divorced, there's a lot of anger going around. It makes it very
because all that fire's around, Al. We're feeling it. All that fire, it's going, and all of that, you know.
JP Mills says that JLo needs to rest that Tootsie Cat.
When I got married, I didn't have a prenup because I was in debt from law school, and I told my wife,
"You like if she wants it, she can have it."
You got it.
Daniel Cameron says, "Your Honor, JLo and Ben shouldn't have never gotten back together. No one cared about them spinning the block." I always felt like that this was a very awkward relationship. It always felt to me to be very PR oriented. And that was JLo's Hail Mary to stay relevant in the A crowd. Let's see. Abby NYC, the MM family said, all that beauty and fame and all these men problems. I know. Why can't she keep it together? JP Mills says, Ben realized the grass isn't greener on the Hispanic side.
I'm going to tell you
Y'all
this.
are a mess. Jerry Barnes says, clearly the gins need to avoid the bins. SL said, A-Rod waiting in the wings for his reboot. No, he's not. He got out of that so fast. He is definitely not looking back. Venetia Phillips said, I need some legal advice. Which attorney can I DM on a case where someone got caught at the Canada airport with weed in their luggage leaving the airport?
Brian.
Yeah, Brian also.
Brian.
That in Canada.
Yeah. All right, Danielle Cameron said JLo probably looked around and said, Ben, nobody cares. We're back together. Oh, shoot. Let's just call this off. I think I might agree with that.
What about talking about the A-Rod thing, though? Because I had heard some tea that A-Rod has come out with some P. Diddy type affection for her. And remember, they broke up because he had been cheating. And so, yeah, he didn't run quickly from it. He wanted her back, is my understanding. Ben consoled her, and that's how their relationship got rekindled. So,
I think he should look now. He doesn't want to be divorced husband number 5. This is like her 4th divorce, right?
Well, get married again. Like, JLo, please listen, girl.
Are you kidding me?
We can have fun. We can have lovers. We can travel the world. There is no need to be getting married to anybody again. Clearly, that don't work for you, honey.
Trust me. No, it's working for her. It's working for her. Y'all understand?
Oh, JP Mills says, that's right, Attorney Turner. ABNYC said, orgasms. Stay Scorpio energy. That's Scorpio energy. Miss P said, I'm so sick of JLo. She's been married more times than Elizabeth Taylor. Maybe she would take a break from dating or shield us from her recent next victim. We don't need to know. Kendra Jones said, I think fundamentally Ben and Jen are not well suited. I agree. Good idea in theory only. Let's see. Venetia Phillips says, I was surprised it ended so fast. I wonder what did JLo do to make that man run back to his ex. JP Mills says, A-Rod a whole different color. He's not worrying about JLo.
Remember, she's still Jenny from the block.
Daniel Cameron said, JLo Tootsie Cat must be something special because she keep getting and fumbling these $1 million men. And SL says Drake's calling her now.
I think you guys are all missing it here.
Okay, what we missed?
JLo is getting paid because here's why. They had a prenup and all that, but guess what she got to keep? The ring. That was a $5 million ring. And here's the thing about it is, she keeps the ring every time. She like Thanos, right? She just collecting rings. That's 6 rings she got now. I did the research. She's got over $10 million Brady,
right? She got over $10 million in rings. Well, she is Jenny. She is Jenny from the block.
Think about it. She ain't had a hit since what? Since In Living Color was on. She ain't got to worry about making that.
Next it's Tom Brady. They can compare rings.
Exactly.
Right?
She in there like this. 6 rings.
Tom Brady got championship rings. She's got marriage rings, huh?
She's got championship rings.
What's the line from Jenny in the Block? Something about the rocks that I got.
There you go.
Get all the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the block.
Oh my goodness. All right, everybody. This is a part of the show that we go to you, the jury, to answer any of your questions. I think we answered most of all. First off, Daniel Cameron, we said, ain't Sonny a lawyer? Yes. JP Mills says insurance companies ripping off regular smuggler people. So what's the problem? That's horrible. Daniel Cameron, insurance companies look out for themselves, so I don't think he's guilty. JP Mills says Trey is ridiculous every time I hear. Okay. Sonny Clark says, how are you going to, sir? Okay, we did that one. Didn't you? I want all my money. I think we covered all these with the questions. So let's go to this part of the show. Before we get to the verdict, everyone, please hit that like button. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are already subscribed, hit the share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. And as always, we love it when you get down in the comments, and we will continue to read your comments today. First up, we're going to go back to our attorneys to go over the docket. First up, everybody, Nicki Minaj, is she guilty or not guilty of slapping that boy and sending him to the closet? Attorney Carter, what say you?
Not only is she guilty of slapping that guy, she must slap everybody because they ain't saying nothing.
They're not saying a word. Attorney Turner?
I wish I had that control in my household. You might need to come over here and take care of discipline, but no, she's guilty.
All right, Attorney Weiss.
She's guilty of scaring the crap out of the other people around her.
I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. In the court of public opinion, Nicki Minaj is guilty of one thing, and that's being a gangster. Guilty gangster that puts the fear in God in everybody to the point where they're not even going to testify against her. Next up, Sonny Hostin's husband. Is he guilty or not guilty of insurance fraud? Attorney Weiss, what say you?
I'm going to go with not guilty. I think he's getting a raw deal on this one, and I'm going to go with not guilty.
All right, Attorney Turner.
I agree with Attorney Weiss, and I also think that the point that he made in the discussion is a good one. We don't know the names of the other 179 doctors. Like, this is unfair to Dr. Hostin, and not guilty, and I hope it turns out well for him.
All right, Attorney Carter.
I'm going to say guilty only because that short little man shouldn't have that tall, fine queen. That's all I'm saying. I'm 6'4" and I can't get her, so he can't have her.
God, you can't get her. You are crazy.
He's guilty in getting in front of you. All right.
JP Mills said that pink witch is guilty. Talking about Nicki Minaj. Tamara Tucker says she slapped him into silence. Oh my goodness. I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. And we're going to find Sonny's husband guilty of being used as an example. I think they're using him as an example. He's a big name to get the headlines going. We're going to find him guilty of being used as an example, but we're going to find him not guilty for insurance fraud at this time. All right, next up, we have Trey Songz. Once again, back in trouble with the law. Trey Songz, Attorney Carter, is Trey Songz guilty or not guilty of beating this man's behind and not paying?
Yes, but he's also, gonna get it. Probably he's gonna get this thrown out, and he'll be able to come back and then prove that he actually did it. I hope he gets less next time because, like I said, Trey, you can come on over here and get some of this for about $3 million.
Attorney Weiss, is Trey Songz guilty or not guilty?
I think he's guilty of just letting it get to a judgment. If you know it's out there and he knew it was out there and they let him get to a judgment, he's guilty. And I'm real curious. I'm going to be paying attention on the 16th to see what happens.
All right, Attorney Turner.
Well, I'm just waiting for the Netflix deal that Attorney Carter's going to negotiate for him and Trey Songz. But yeah, I think Trey Songz is guilty. I think he needs Jesus and a therapist.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. And we're going to find Trey Songz guilty of being irresponsible. Like, there's one thing to know you got served, and there's another thing to know you did not get served. But if your security guy told you that a stranger came up to the gate and handed them papers, but I left it on the ground, you technically know you got served. And you should probably have gotten those papers over to your lawyer instead of ignoring it. So we're going to find Trey Songz guilty of indiscretion. All right, last but not least, no, we got T.I. and Tiny. Are T.I. and Tiny guilty of getting too much money for their award or not? Attorney Carter, what say you?
Not guilty. They should have got more for a little bit, just on principle alone, because they got to deal with King and his bad ass. So they should probably get another 15 million just to be seen with his crazy butt.
Attorney Turner, what say you?
T.I. is guilty of being married to Tiny and not hooking up with me. No, I'm just kidding. I've always loved T.I. But yeah, no, they are guilty of getting played by the system.
That's what I say. Okay, Attorney Weiss, what say you?
They are guilty of getting the short end of the stick. There is no doubt that those dolls were off there, and they're entitled to their money. Right.
Okay. I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here in the court of a celebrity court, and we're going to find them not guilty of doing anything wrong. We're going to find the people guilty of mistreating them and not giving them all their money. Next up and final is J.Lo and Ben Affleck. Who's guilty of what and why? Attorney Weiss, let's start with you.
I think they're both guilty of they shouldn't have ever been in that relationship, and thankfully we don't have to hear about it anymore. No Afflo and Lo Ben. Who cares?
Not Afflo. Not Afflo, counselor. All right, Attorney Carter, what say you?
I think that J.Lo should have to get the ring back. And here's the thing is that Ben should have to wear it to remind him not to marry her next week.
All right, Attorney Turner, what say you?
They're guilty of being hopelessly in love. They gave it a chance. I think they were both sincere. I'm curious to know what happened because there's this backstory that somehow it's related to Diddy. But I think that may or may not come out.
You really think that it's a backstory that is related to Diddy?
Yeah, there's been some conversation about, and I don't know this is all unofficial, just things I've read, but that it's related to the Diddy case in that there were some things that came out about her involvement with him that gave Ben pause. That's what's been talked about.
Well, this is what I think it is. I think that he's stuck on those Latino sisters. I think that she loves to be in the limelight and he's not all about the limelight. I think she spends a lot and he's, your typical guy in Hollywood, A-lister that, likes the good life, but also wants to be able to pass it down to his kids. I just think this couple is more bad for each other than good. So I'm going to find them both guilty as charged. And I too will be glad to not hear any more about Affleck and Ben Lowe, whatever y'all called them. Okay. All right, tonight's docket proved once again that fame and fortune doesn't shield anyone from scandal. From Nicki Minaj dodging an arrest warrant to J.Lo and Ben's final bow, these cases show that when it comes to justice, the drama never stops. But here's the question: are we too quick to judge celebrities? Or does their influence mean they owe us a higher standard of accountability? Let's keep the conversation going using the hashtag Celebrity Court as we see you next time for more drama, debate, and of course, justice. Everybody have a good night, and that's going to conclude tonight's show. Court is now adjourned.
Stay safe, Your Honor, and no more Benifer.
Oh, I know, right? No more Benifer. I got to go see if this building's on fire.
Stay safe, Your Honor.